A lot of guys ask, what can I say to a girl to make her fall in love? Well, in this video, I'm gonna share 5 things you can say to make a woman really fall for you. Now, I'll warn you, a few of these tips may sound weird or even counterintuitive, but there's very specific psychology behind every technique I'm going to share today, as I'll explain in a minute. When a guy has feelings for a girl, he's actually more likely to say the wrong things than he is to say things that will cause her to become more attracted to him and fall in love. For instance, a lot of times when a guy has feelings for a girl, he has this urge to compliment her a lot. Now I get it right. I've been there. I know that feeling. But when it comes to complimenting a woman, 2 things are critically important. First, you've got to make her feel like she's earned the compliment. Let me explain what I mean by that. This means, instead of blurting out compliments all at once, or every time you see her, which not only loses effectiveness, but actually starts to annoy a girl, it should appear to her that you're slowly falling for her, that you're gradually discovering the things you like about her, like she's winning you over day by day. Now, the second part, compliments, work best when you compliment something unique to her. Personality, not something general like her looks, her eyes, whatever. If a woman has really nice eyes, how many guys do you think have already told her that? Do you want to be lumped in with those guys? Or do you want to go deeper, where she feels you're seeing her, admiring the real her in ways other guys miss? Here's something really powerful. I teach something called the golden mirror. There are a few ways to do it, but here's one you can start with. Make a compliment directly related to a woman's dream. So let's say she wants to be a psychiatrist. You could say to her, you're really easy to talk to. I could totally see you being the kind of person that people just want to share things with. You might even add, I almost feel like I've already told you things I never tell anyone. Now, a good thing to do is end it by saying something like, too bad you're such a dork. That breaks the tension, brings things back to a playful level, and keeps it from getting too serious. And I'll explain why that's important in a minute. In addition to validating something important to her, it does something else for you. It communicates that you are the selector, and not the selected. What do I mean by that? Well, most guys will settle for anything they can get. But when you let a woman know, you're actually sizing her up. She'll be the one trying to impress you. She'll become addicted to impressing you. And the more she finds herself doing that, the more invested she becomes, and the more likely she is to fall for you next. Women are what I call meaning makers. A girl is always looking for the deeper meaning behind what you're doing or saying. So, for example, if you show up on a date with her, holding a bouquet of roses, and you've got reservations at a fancy restaurant, the meaning she might make is, wow, he's super serious about me already. Maybe he's not used to dating someone like me, which is why you have to be careful. You need to be conscious of the meaning she's making from your actions or words, without you even realizing it. But it's also important to understand this. For women, the harder a meaning is to decipher, the more invested she becomes in figuring you out. I always tell my clients, if a woman figures you out too soon, it's over. Women don't want a sure thing or a predictable guy. They want a mental challenge. And that's why anything you do that's ambiguous, anything she can't quite understand, leads her to be more interested in you, because she spends more and more time thinking about you. So if you can do things that send mixed signals, like telling her you like her, and then sort of pushing her away, this keeps her mind working to figure out what's going on, and that mental challenge is extremely addicting for her. There's also a hand-holding technique I teach that can give her mixed signals, making her curious, excited, and turned on all at once. I'll explain that technique in a minute. But first, let me say this. Like anything else, if these techniques are used too much, they lose their effect. They must be used sparingly, and only at the right moments. It took a lot of trial and error, but I discovered a very specific order that makes these techniques even more effective. I'll tell you about that in a second. But first, here's another tip. Use her name several times during the conversation, making eye contact as you talk to her, even though it seems innocent. It actually creates a sense of intimacy. If you've ever had a woman use your name and hold eye contact, you know that electric spark it creates. It builds up tension because it taps into her meaning, making instinct causing her to wonder what's going on here. Is something happening between us? The next technique is something called future projecting, and there are lots of ways to do this. But here's a fun one. After you take a picture with a girl, jokingly say, "Damn, we'd make some good-looking babies," and then move on to another topic. What you've done here is anchor a future with her, in her mind, and as a bonus, you've made her imagine sleeping with you. Now here's a tip about what not to say. Stop telling her what you think she wants to hear. Many guys talk women out of feeling attraction, even talk them out of falling in love, by telling her exactly how they feel. Too soon telling her is bad because it takes the magic, suspense, mystery, tension, and that mental challenge out of the situation. It pops the balloon, it kills the chemistry. When you say to a woman, "I like you," early on in her head she's thinking, "He's admitting he likes me, so I have all the power." And for some reason, that makes her not like him as much anymore. Every woman's biggest fantasy is the day she finally tells a guy her feelings about him. If you tell her first, you rob her of that moment. Remember this, we love to buy, but we hate to be sold. Everything needs to be under the radar, so it feels like her decision to chase you. Because if she senses that you're trying to convince her to like you, or manipulate her to like you, she'll subconsciously put the brakes on, pull back, and a lot of times, she won't even know why she's rejecting you, but she'll just have a bad feeling about things. You cannot convince a woman to like you. And if you try, you'll sound weak. You'll sound needy, and you will sound very desperate. Your job is to help her come to that conclusion on her own. And you do that through a mix of giving her the feeling that she's winning you over and being the mental challenge that she creates. There's an inherent biological difference in the way that men and female brains are wired. And instead of letting it confuse you, which it does to 99% of the guys out there, learn to use it to your advantage, so they'll become interested and fall in love with you. See, as I mentioned earlier, these techniques are powerful on their own, but when you use them in a specific order, she can't help but fall for you, even if you're not her type. Even if she's already rejected you, or even if she sees you as a friend was. So I have a longer video where I map out the exact technique and specific steps to get her chasing you. It's vitally important to know how to go from one step to the next in a way that always leaves her wanting more. That's what I explained in the next video. How to move things forward in an under-the-radar way that makes her feel like she's winning you over. I also explain how even if you've already messed up, you can turn things around. You can erase those mistakes and get a second chance. If you really want to become a high-value man and attract everyone around you, then watch a video where I explain everything about female nature, weaknesses of women, what women want from men, what are their favorite things or positions. You know what I mean here. Check the description for the video. Thank you for listening to me. I'll see you in the next video.